Let's get ready to rumble.
Yes, we're back. Episode 73 of the Hibs Ramble, and a special one for you today. If you are already watching on YouTube, you will see it is not the normal cast. It is a huge, huge improvement. However, I am still stuck with Mark. Mark, how are you doing?
I'm grand, mate. We just spoke about 10 minutes ago, but yeah, I'm still good.
Perfect. Now, we're joined with Tony Anderson, Nige and Gav Dick. All right, Tony, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm very well, thank you. How about yourself?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Is this or is this not the pinnacle of your career being on the Hibs Ramble? Where does that rank?
Absolutely, man. I mean, this is an absolute pleasure. I'm not stuck listening to fucking Motherwell and fucking Jambles all day. Fans talking utter nonsense. So this is good. I was delighted when you asked me that I could get to just sit and talk with fellow Hibbies and not listen to absolute trash for hours. So
It's a bit better than listening to that tripe that you have to listen to.
Absolutely,
that's for sure.
absolutely.
Nige, how you doing? You all good?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Yeah, how are you doing? You okay?
Yeah, I'm good. I feel like us on the Ramble have been rimming you for weeks now in regards to your content that you've been giving us. So it's good to have you on.
Well, I've stopped putting my rants in on the Hibs supporters forums and that because I just get my arsehole pulled apart. So I'm just like, what's the point? But no, like I appreciate obviously you guys getting me involved in that. I'm a big fan of the show, as you know. So.
Appreciate you coming on. Now, Gav, special mention to yourself. You must be absolutely delighted that Craig is not here to tear you apart because you're not going to be typing anything. So he's not going to have any chance to rip any of your spelling or anything this week. How are you doing?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Kind of total honour to be on, Appreciate it.
Nah, it's all good. What we'll do is we'll just jump straight into the last derby, lads, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
What we're going to do, we're just going to talk about the last derby that we had. Obviously, it was a bit chaotic from a Hibs perspective. Hello, Craig. How we doing? You all good?
What's happening, lads?
Good.
Nice to have you welcome, with us. Craig. Welcome,
Craig. Jumper he's got on, That's a belter.
There he is, Gav Dick, Mould adversary, finally.
I know.
You've just missed it. We've just spent the last couple of minutes, Craig, tearing you apart and saying how Gav was delighted that you weren't going to be on, and then you've just jump scared them and came on.
Well, don't worry, I'm here to fix any grammatical errors during the course of the recording, as I've been doing for the past 18 months.
Craig, do you ken what Gav wants to be when he's older?
No, a journalist, surely.
He must have told him before.
Class.
So
a long way to go, son. A long way to go.
I know.
Gav,
just jumping straight back at it then. So, Tony, I want to get your perspective on the overall picture for the last derby. Obviously, a bit hectic, finding ourselves 2-0 down, then LAU and masterclass for 89 seconds. I know a few of us on this chat have had a good 89 seconds in our life, 90 seconds in our life, but just how good was that, and what kind of learnings do you think Monty has taken for that performance at Tynecastle, if anything?
It's going to be tough in terms of what he's going to take from there, because I think Hearts are going to be lined up pretty differently. I think they'll have a completely different shape for a start, and the style that they're going to go with, I think, has changed pretty dramatically from back then. In terms of Hibs, it was a really good unifying moment, I think, for the fans in Montgomery. It's the kind of thing that has to happen to get the sort of fans on board. We are so used to going behind against Hearts like that and just calling it quits. I mean, I'll tell the truth. I've left it. Last year when we got beat 3-0, I left it 2-0. So I left it half an hour because I just couldn't be arsed with it. But there I stuck around, and then I think he got some buy-in from that performance. So I think this game's absolutely massive for Montgomery, really, and I think it's really big for Naismith as well. I think the losers on a hiding to nothing going forward, but he'll know that Hibs can hurt Hearts. He'll know that they lack pace. I think that he'll know that Hibs can probably squeeze the game pretty high, and that means that we could on a good day, I think we could suffocate this Hearts team because there's not a lot of them that can go in behind us. So you could strangle Strangling. So I think he could come out of this from the last performance and think he can go maybe a bit braver.
Yeah, we've definitely lacked, for me anyway, a little bit attacking quality-wise as well in the last couple of games. And I feel like I was saying this to Mark earlier, we've kind of changed things up a little bit since the Rangers defeat, and maybe been a little bit more conservative. So it will be interesting. Completely agree with everything you've said. Nige, the last game at Tynecastle as well, Alex Lowry was huge for them. It seemed like the game turned on its head when he came off. How do you think we as a club and the players on that pitch will look to potentially trying to nullify that threat that they'll have, and who do you think will be the key men for both sides?
I think, like, looking back to the game at Tynecastle, Lowry was by far their best player, and you're right. As soon as they took him off, the game kind of changed, and it kind of spurred us on. But prior to that, I felt that we were more of a I think it was more of a sort of 4-2-4, and we were getting overrun in midfield. And to be honest with you, it was a difficult watch. I mean, I would argue that if Naismith hadn't made that change, would we got somewhere out of the game? I'm really not sure we would have, because that change alone kind of had a massive detrimental effect to how Hearts continued to play, and then we started to get more of a kind of foothold in midfield. And I think going into this derby, this is going to be key. Derbies tend to be quite scrappy affairs anyway. Where I think Hibs lack is that we don't have that physical ability, particularly in midfield. And I honestly think that the game's going to be won and lost in midfield. I think that you're going on about us being a bit more conservative, and it's probably not a bad thing in an Edinburgh derby, because it is going to be a physical affair. What we can't afford to do is be allowed to be overrun in midfield like we did at Tynecastle, and that's my biggest concern. I think if I was Naismith, I'd be looking at that game and saying, right, our Hibs going to play from the back. If we are going to play from the back, they're going to press us. They're going to try and force us into mistakes. We don't have, good players on the ball playing defenders that have the ability to kind of play that way at the moment. Maybe in time when Monty brings in his own players. But if I'm Stephen Naismith, I'm thinking, Hibs going to play from the back. Secondly, I'm going to think, can we win that midfield? And I think that's going to be the key. So that's what I take from the game at Tynecastle, that we were overrun massively in midfield, and that's going to be a big issue. There's absolutely no doubt, and I agree with what you say, like going forward, we can press a bit higher, and I think we've got the ability to really, hurt them. But defensively, that's going to be my concern, is, because players like Boyle and Ewan, they don't want to be tracking back.
Completely agree.
And we force them to do that in the shape that we play. That's something that's forced upon them. And I quite like it, Nige, what you're saying there, because you end up with a midfield sometimes with Hibs where 3 of the 4 players can't tackle, and that can be a worry. If you've got Ewan, Tavares, and Boyle, even Levitt, he's not particularly.
Well, absolutely.
You're literally got with one guy who can tackle, and that's a worry in a game like this. Of course, it is.
Yeah, Gav, I've got sorry, Nige, there. Just purely because you're touching on the 2 in the midfield getting overrun, Hearts having the 3. Gav, I want to get your thoughts on that. Obviously, at the weekend there, we saw the weekend previous now, by the time this comes out, against St Johnstone, a huge loss that Joe Neal can be. We obviously are sticking with the 4-2-4, 4-4-2, however you want to look at it. Obviously, that changes in and out of possession, but predominantly Hearts will have that 3 in the middle of the park. How do you think we can try and nullify their midfield 3 and kind of overpower them? It kind of touches on what Tony's already said about trying to sucker them in and then going out from there. How do you think we can try and dominate at home with a 2 against what will ultimately end up being a Hearts 3 and potentially 4 if Shanklin's dropping deep as well?
I think you need to be a bit more reserved in the players that you're playing in the positions. I think personally, I would, if I was Montgomery for the game, I would probably bring in Jago. I know he's a wee bit, people in the support have been a wee bit critical of him, but I think it's probably him and Newell for the midfield, and then I'd probably then bring in Campbell at the left side, and then it can be made into like a 3 in midfield to go 4-4-3 and attacking.
When you're out of position, yeah, completely agree.
I think the only way that we've kind of got a chance, it sounds really negative, but I think we really need to match them up in terms of
it's the Hibs way. It's the Hibs way being negative, isn't it?
Yeah, like genuinely, like I know it's like you've probably experienced it a lot more kind of heartbreaks and all that, but yeah, I think we need to match them up. I think if we'd probably drop Gier, I think he'd go.
Yeah.
He'd probably maybe play. Well, line up, if it's a 4-4-2, you'd play probably Ewan on the right, and then can change to going Ewan on the left, and then Boyle on the right, Benny up front.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier Ewan there as well, Mark. I want to just get your thoughts on that just before we go to Craig, and then kind of wrap up looking back at the last derby. Ewan obviously was, other than that 90 seconds at Tynecastle, was pretty much nowhere to be seen, but he is capable of that magic touch. Is that the type of game, with it being at Easter Road and basically what he kind of done the last time, the type of game we would still want to have him? Is Gav right in what he's saying about potentially just dropping Jair instead, or do you think we would be right to have Ewan on one side and potentially Martin Boyle up top?
I would always stick with Ewan, because, like you said, although you can have a player that's quite poor for 90 minutes, but when they've got the quality to pop up for 90 seconds and score 2 goals, I think that's a player you want to have on the park. I think as well, whether or not it did have an impact on his performance, is that pitch at Tynecastle, right? It's just tight and the fans are on top of you and all that kind of stuff, and I just think that's not his arena. But with Easter Road, with it being a bigger pitch, obviously home court advantage, the fans on his side, and I just think he'll have a bit of a point to prove after the last derby as well. Despite, he even came out and said that Montgomery went raj at him at half time, and then he popped up and scored those 2 goals. I would always stick with him because, like I said, he's got quality, he's got pace, he's got a goal in him, he's got assists in him. So I would certainly stick with him up there and just hope that, he can get it. The thing that concerns me is it's not so much Ewan that concerns me, it's actually getting the ball to him.
Yeah.
You look at the game against St Johnstone, when you're playing that possession-based football and you're playing it about the back and you're barely getting past your own halfway line, it's no Venti, it's not Ewan, it's not anyone that's to blame for not playing well. It's, they need to get the ball at their feet first and foremost for them to have a chance. So that's what I'm hoping happens.
Even though, in fairness, Ewan's touch was like a balloon all day on Saturday. He was. If you look at him at Tynecastle, I can only imagine what he said to him after the St Johnstone game, because he was laughably bad. It was his worst performance in a Hibs shirt, easily.
Aye. Yeah. He is, unfortunately, is capable of that as well. But we're hoping, obviously, coming up against Hearts again, he'll have that fire in his belly as well. Tori, was there something else you were going to add to that? Sorry.
Just the positive thing for guys like Ewan and Boyle and stuff is that there'll be a lot more transitions in a game like a derby than there are in other games, because the other teams, obviously, they sit off us naturally because the way we play, and obviously just because we're a bigger club, so teams naturally just do that when they come, and we struggle to break them down. But this will be hectic. The ball will be changing hands all the time, and that can benefit sort of your more explosive players like Boyle or Ewan, when they're not just having to break down a stodgy defence in front of them.
It makes me wonder if I've actually sent you my detailed notes rather than my normal brief agenda notes, because that was pretty much what I was going to ask Craig about before we kind of wrapped up on that. Because it's all good, don't you worry. Craig, see, coming into this game, the vast majority of the Hearts 4 or 5 last games coming into this game are all bigger games, so Celtic, Rangers, they'll have played St Mirren and stuff like that as well. The teams that are up and in and around them in the league, and Aberdeen and stuff like that as well. Is that maybe going to work towards Hearts' benefit rather than our benefit? Because the games that we've had, albeit still tough games, away to Ross County, away to St Johnstone and things like that, do you think that will play a part, the short games in a short period of time up against a tougher opposition in regards to Hearts, so they potentially, their level might be a little bit higher than ours?
Not really. You've seen it. How many times have we went into derbies? Look at the season, the COVID season. There's no many times in my life that I genuinely felt we were going to turn them over, and that was one night when I thought we were going to give them an absolute scalping, and we ended up getting scalped ourselves. So, they could have been they could have won the League Cup on Sunday there, and it wouldn't make any difference to how it would feel. Again, we won the League Cup, they came to Easter Road and basically spoiled the trophy party. So whoever's, they're on the fixtures, or even they're on the form, or even individual players' form before it, and games like this means absolutely deadly. We've seen it so many times. How many games have we played against them where somebody's came out of nowhere and done something? That game almost announced that Boyle could play up front at Tynecastle when he scored twice.
Yeah.
Before that, he'd never really done much in a forward area, in terms of a central forward area. So nah, the fixtures form doesn't have any bearing on it whatsoever. It's purely, as Tony said, it's going to be hectic and it's going to be chaos, and whoever can get a level head in amongst that chaos, and that's where the key thing becomes when it's inevitably it's going to be the 2vs, the 3. Like regardless of what way you want to try and mark it up, I don't see him. We've spoken about it how many times since Monty got appointed. He's never going to change his way. So nah, I don't see much changing in terms of the team. So it's who can get control of that midfield, and then like you say as well, it's not what Ewan and Boyle and Venti etc. are doing when we get the ball. It's how quick can we get the ball to them. That's going to be key. It's how quick we can move the ball to our dangerous players in those forward areas.
Yeah. What we'll do now is we'll just kind of wrap that up. What we're going to move on to now is we're going to move on to a little game of Hibs tenable. Now, for the listeners, I'll just do a very, very brief explanation. So, for those of you that don't know what tenable is, I am going to ask the lads here a Hibs-related tenable question. So, I'm going to ask them a Hibs-related question. They have to come up collectively as a 5 with 10 correct answers. Now, to give you an example of that, if they give me something that is incorrect, they will lose a life. As a group of 5, they will have 3 lives. If they get 3 wrong, we'll then end the game, and then depending on what the score is. So the question for you guys is, I would like you as a collective of 5, and I'll ask you individually to give me one by one, the last 10 Hibs Derby goal scorers. Now, we're not, just for the purposes of the fact that we've just spoke about Ellie Ewan's double, Ellie Ewan's double would have technically only counted as 1 because that is 1 person to have scored. However, we're not including his in this 10. So, prior to the Ellie Ewan double, I would like you guys to tell me the last 10 Hibs Derby goal scorers. I will tell you whether you're right or whether you're wrong after you've said the name. So, just to give you a little bit of a clue, there may or may not be an own goal in there. I'll give you that because I completely forgot about that goal when I was doing my research. And we're going back to 2018 onwards. Okay, so there's your only 2 clues that I'm going to give you. Craig, can you kick us off and can you give us one of the last 10 Hibs goal scorers against Hearts?
I'll get one of the hard ones out the way. Melker Hallberg.
Correct. Mark, would you like to give me one?
I'll go an easy one. Kevin Nisbet.
Correct. Tony, do you want to give me one?
Martin Boyle.
Correct. Another easy one out the way. Maybe not helped by my background there, but whatever. We move on. Nige, do you want to give me one?
I've just had a brain fart there. Oh man, I can't believe it. Hecky's game at Tynecastle. Fuck man, I can't believe it.
That's called it quits.
Oh man,
I thought you'd taken your life there.
I've crumbled under pressure. You know who I mean though, don't you?
Aye, but we can't answer it.
Nah.
Oh man.
I tell you what, Nigel, I'll give you a couple of other minutes, right? A couple of other seconds. I'll go to Gav. Gav, do you want to give me one?
You want a clue? Have a look at the footy behind Shaun.
It's Horgan. It's Horgan.
There we go.
There we go.
There we go. There we go.
Pressure, boys.
Right, Gav, your turn.
Put it right under the bus there. Like I was thinking of Horgan myself. Oh my days.
I've not scored that many.
I know. Stevie Mallon.
Yep, that is tenable, as they would say. So that takes us to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because you've all got one correct so far. So we've got 5 to go. We'll work our way back, and I'll leave Marc and Craig with potentially the harder ones. So Gav, you want to give me another one?
Paul Hanlon.
That is not tenable. That is incorrect. So that's one of your lives gone. Nige.
Since 2018.
Yep.
Bloody hell.
Tony, you got one in mind?
Oh, hold on.
the day there.
What was that? Sorry, Nige?
Not Stevenson. Witherspoon. That one. Have been 2018, wasn't it? David Witherspoon.
It was about 50 years ago.
I wish that was only 5 years ago, to be honest. My next door. Oh, right, does that know your answer, or Nige?
No, that is my answer, and we're done, boys.
Nah. So that's your second life gone. You chuck the squad under the bus there, Nige. So you've got one life left, so you can only get one more wrong, and then it's game over. Tony, you got one?
Well, I think so. Is it Scott Allen?
No, that just missed out, and I mean just missed out.
That was a really good shout, I know. To be
Aye,
fair.
so excluding obviously Ellie Ewan, Scott Allen would have been number 11 on that list.
Because I was thinking that because it was the game, the natural order game. That's what I was thinking.
Yes, correct. Aye. Yeah, correct. So basically, it was after that game until the Kevin Nisbet one at the end of last season. That is where our 10 goals have came from. So I'll run you through them since you have used your 3 lives, unfortunately.
Do we not even?
So
I've
he's only as a collective. It's a team effort. So you've only got half the answers.
Can I just give you the 3 that I've got anyway, Shaun?
Of course you can.
So the own goal, Christoph Berra.
Correct.
Christian Doidge at Handon against Hearts in the semis.
Correct.
I was going to say that.
And Canberry penalty at Tynecastle under Lennon.
That is correct.
I would never have got the Canberry one. Like, never would have got that.
That is correct.
Right.
That is another one. Yep. That's
a good one. I never thought of that.
Oh,
and the last one?
Chris Cadden at Handon.
There you go. Well done, boys.
Should have just left it to me.
There we go.
Held your Hibs credits there. That's good, Craig.
Thanks, dude.
Just for the premise of the recording here as well, I'm just going to let you know my screen has went completely blank, so I cannot see a single person now. So apologies if you are making funny faces at me or not. So hopefully I don't froze. Don't know what's going on with my laptop. However, I'll try and get it back up and running, but I can still hear you. What we'll do now is we're just going to move into a wee segment called Top 3. Now, Tony, we're going to start off with yourself, and I want you to talk us through, you can talk as much or as little detail as you want, your top 3 Derby moments and why.
So I was trying, because I know that the other ones were like goals and matches and stuff, so I tried my best to sort of stay away for that. So probably if I'm going to start with my absolute probably favourite is probably back in 2009 when the guy ran on the pitch and tried to punch Derek Riordan at Tynecastle with a ghost punch, because he actually fell on his arse as well and he didn't connect. So that was like a
penalty, wasn't it?
Aye, and obviously we went to Tiny and we obviously didn't fancy it. We had like 7 players do it. It was under Mixu, wasn't it?
Aye.
And like we didn't fancy it. We brought 1,500 folk. The people weren't up for it at all. And I wasn't one of them. I was at my mate's house watching it, and like he scored the penalty, and they were furious because I think they had a decent result against Rangers through the week or something like that, and they were absolutely certain they're going to beat us. And it's just that obviously Derek Riordan was sort of everything. Like I love Derek Riordan. I think it's the perfect sort of Hibs story. It's Hibs boy coming from sort of the north of Edinburgh, and he banged in over 100. It's like absolute legendary stuff. Yeah. And it was all like just proper gifted talent. It's just like incredible. But so for him to do it, they obviously hate him the most. They probably feel that he epitomises Hibs is probably what they would think. So to see them get to the point of that much anger and run on the pitch and then still look like a fucking clown after it, it's pretty good stuff, man.
And what's your other 2? What else? That is a really good one to top the list. That would definitely be up there for me in regards to moments, that's for sure. What's your other 2?
I remember Addis Allen Benjalin's celebration.
Oh, that's a tremendous shout, by the
way. When he ran the length of the pitch and people were trying to stop him as he ran through everyone, and he ran up to Arch, because that was class, because that was like obviously a young guy because the Benji and Zamama, they really tried, they kind of immersed themselves in everything at Hibs, and it was obviously it's cool seeing people come from such far away, like all the way from Africa, and they come over and they seem to really get it. And I bet if you sat them down now, they would say that that's probably the most special parts of their careers was the time at Hibs. and he just lost it right away. Like, he's obviously got so caught up as a young guy the second he does it. And the first thing is like what we'd all do: run to the away fans, run to the derby rivals, and just go absolutely mental in front of them. And I just thought that was a magic moment. And my mate ended up on the pitch, I think, and he got banned for a while.
And your last one?
Well, this is probably more personal. When I went to the derby, you know, the possession derby, I think as it's called, when we won in the League Cup quarter-final, when Rob Jones scored. My favourite moment is the fact that we absolutely humped them and never looked like scoring. Never looked like losing, but we didn't score again because I took money off everyone. This is back in the day we could put a bet on in the stadium, and I took money for everyone and put a bet on, and everyone wanted me to put Rob Jones for scorer. And I sat down, and I was in a different stand for them because I got my ticket late in the West Stand, and I was celebrating the goal like brilliant. And I looked down, I put him down as last goal scorer, and I know, and I knew they were all in the other stand thinking, right, we're fucking quids in for the night. We're all going out, and I'm just sitting there like trying to enjoy a derby, knowing that I've got hell. I'm going to get so much fucking pelters after, and then eventually all's well that ends well, and I was able to tell the story and not get my fucking knee kicked in.
Brilliant. Nige, top 3 derby goals at Easter Road and Easter Road alone. What is the top 3 for you?
For me, so number 3 is we're going back to 2005. So Gary O'Connor, second goal, well, his first goal, but Hibs' second goal against Hearts. And I think Hearts came in at the game, I think they were 10 or 11 unbeaten. They thought they were world beaters. And I remember them giving us so much shit, you know, in the run up to the game and singing "We are unbeatable." And Boozy opened the scoring, and then I think it was Bruni whipped a ball in. Gary O'Connor's chested it down, and he's just absolutely put the laces through it past Gordon. And honestly, the atmosphere in there was just absolutely tremendous. And obviously, Hearts had been bought over. They were going through that kind of period where, to be fair, they were getting some good results and they were really competitive. And obviously, to come Easter Road and us getting that result was tremendous. So yeah, that
Number 2?
That as number 3. De La Cruz. Remember De La Cruz? So, because remember, Wanjo had missed I think they had gone straight from the kickoff, and Wanjo had a shot. Nick Colgan's just put it up the park. Alan Ormond's taking it down, cut inside. And was that a shot? Was it a cross? Obviously, top bin. But if you look at the replay, one of the things about it I love the most is the fact that there's a Hearts fan who's obviously just coming out, trying to find his seat. And as that ball's landed in the top corner, and the Hibs fans have gone mental, he jumps up, and you see him on the telly behind the goals. He jumps up, starts celebrating, and as soon as he finds out Hibs have scored, he's given it all for us. So, you know, tremendous.
That's when they only brought about like 6 fans or no.
They were going through. That's right. They were going through a boycott, weren't they?
Well, that's what they always call it. That's what they always call it.
Was it something to do with ticket prices or something? I can't mind. But we won that game 2-1. I remember it being really miserable game. It started so well, but just tremendous. Just a great goal. It was like 36 seconds or something like that. So
yeah,
fantastic. And number 1 for me, it's got to be Russell Latipi, 6 of the best. I was there with my dad, and I would have only been 14 at the time. And Hearts had scored early. Andy Kirk had scored. They didn't have many fans for that game as well, actually. I think they only took like the top tier. And I remember saying to my dad, I was absolutely devastated. And he says, "Listen, son, like, we'll turn it around." Obviously, Mixu gets the 2 before half time. We were just outstanding, but the link-up play with Mixu and Latipi for that goal, just unbelievable. And Ian Crocker's commentary, right, it's up there with Liam Henderson to deliver. And I still know it word for word to this day, but unbelievable. So
it's good.
And
choice.
Russell Latipi, like, you go on about luxury players, but he was something else. Like, apparently he used to smoke like 40 fags a day, and then he would just go on there. And for me, one of the best players I've ever seen in a Hibs shirt.
Yeah.
Just outstanding, great to watch. You know, so that's my top 3, chat.
Good,
yeah.
Brilliant. Good.
Russell Latipi never used to. Russell Latipi, when he went into Falkirk training, they all used to go mental at him because he never used to do anything at training. And they'd say, "Why does he not have to do it?" And he'd turn up, and they would all be doing drills And then he turned around and said, using the guys that carry the piano, I'm the guy who plays the piano.
Brilliant.
Gav, I'm assuming that your Derby memories, your top 3 Derby memories, will be a little bit more recent, for obvious reasons. Do you want to hit us with what they are in no particular order?
I've got Simon Murray's goal in the first Derby.
Good show.
Best part of that is 11-year-old me, kind of first experience of the Derby, going to a game live, kind of not really having a clue what to do, kind of just jumping up and down, going mental. But no, the best part of that was certainly.
Fucking 11-year-old man.
11-year-old in that game, that's unbelievable.
Oh.
I was living in New Zealand at that point as an old man still. Like about 30-year-old.
And then obviously my second best derby was probably the Boyle equaliser. That game was just absolutely, it was mental. It was a proper derby. You know, another day we could have probably lost that kind of 3-0, but you know, Martin Ball coming back, you couldn't write it. You generally couldn't write it. He just comes back, gets the goal. I don't think I've celebrated a goal as much as that ever.
I was just about to say that you'll be hard pushed for limbs at Easter Road being beaten than that.
Yeah.
He snuck him on the team sheet before the game. Nobody knew he was going to play. I've never seen a buzz like that round the streets and the pubs.
It was
because nobody thought it was.
It was mental.
I was actually walking down the stairs as we were on the attack there and literally holding on to the railing when that's gone in, and it was just absolute scenes. And then obviously Hearts are like, you know, we're celebrating a draw. No, we're celebrating the fact that Boyle's come back. It's the stuff of dreams that you couldn't write it. Do you know what I mean? So you can't write that stuff. So and they'd be doing the same.
What's number 1 for you, Gav?
Probably Scott Allen's performance in a natural order. Obviously scoring, and then just it was unplayable, absolutely unplayable.
It's a great game.
We'll speak to our grandkids about McGinn, McGeoch and Allen in the way that I was spoken to about Stanton and O'Rourke and Cropley and all that. That's just that midfield is just, it's one of them, just absolutely caviar.
Like that midfield is like the top midfield that probably most of you guys have seen for ages. Like probably like Brown is like all the kind of Brown and all that, and all the kind of golden generation were the ones that probably used were like, well, they're top. For me, it's kind of McGeoch, Allen and McGinn. But no, like Allen's a player that like whenever an attacking midfielder comes in, it's like, well, Scott Allen to top. Like there's nobody else. Some of the passes he used to kind of play were just mind-boggling. Like
that goal he scored was really quite unique. The way he hits it, it's like you didn't see goals like that very often. It's a really smart, like cute finish. It's brilliant.
The way it just goes along, like it just looks like it's like a thing. I can't think of the word that I'm thinking of, but it just the way it leaves his foot and just goes right. Brilliant goal, brilliant goal.
He was flat-footed and all. He just wasn't anticipating it at all, wasn't he?
He hits it so early. He didn't think he's going to hit it because of the style of it, and he digs it out. It's real top class.
The weird like setup for handling as well kind of makes it, and the fact that he has to take it down. Does he take it on the thigh and then is it chest and then shoot it down thigh? He takes it on the thigh and then just gets it. He almost cuts across it without outside of the foot in it, but it's daisy cutter I think you're looking for, Shaun. Just
thank you.
Just a zinger right along the carpet.
Right, so what we're going to do now, boys, something a little bit different. Another wee game that I'm going to throw you into. We're going to play a game of lies, and it's going to be Ramble versus the guests, okay? So for those of you that don't know, and for the listeners at home watching and listening to this, basically the premise of lies is I'm going to give the boys a topic of conversation, and they are going to have 30 seconds to name however many answers for said question in that time period. What will happen is they will go up against each other. So there are 5 questions, so they'll all get the opportunity to go up against one another at some point. If, hypothetically, I give one of the boys a question and they say that they can provide 10, the other person would then need to say that they are either a liar if they do not think that they can answer 10, or if they feel like they can do more, they would then say 11, and so on and so forth until someone gets called out for being a liar. The person that gets called out for being the liar then has to prove that they are not by providing us with that amount of answers to that question. So what we're going to do now first is we're going to have Mark up against Tony. And the first question is going to be, how many Derby goals can you mention since after the 5-1 in 2012? So, Mark, I'll let you represent the ramble here. You can kick us off with a number. How many goals in 30 seconds? How many goals in 30 seconds do you think you can name since the 5-1?
I'll go with 10.
So,
Tony,
just to get that clear. So, what, you have to describe the goal, or what? Do you just have to name the goal scorer?
So as long as it's clear what the goal is. So hypothetically, just so I don't give you an answer here, if you said James McPake, Scottish Cup final, that would be one. Obviously, for the basis of this question, it wouldn't, because it's after that game. You just need to make it clear to me that I know what goal you're referring to. So, or if you said Paatelainen 1, Paatelainen 2, Paatelainen, that would be 3, right? But again, that's not within the remit of the question, because I'm asking for goals after that cup final. So do you think, Tony, that you could do 11, or do you think Mark is a liar and that he could not do 10?
In 30 seconds? I'm actually going to call him out as a liar, aye. Because I think it's a tough one, haven't it? It's quite a lot to do, because you have to explain. You have to explain what the goal is.
I didn't really think about having to kind of explain the goals. But do you know what? I'll get a bash.
Remember, Mark, you're representing the ramble here, so don't let us down. Right, Mark, I'll let you go. I'll start you off in a second. Are you ready to go? You've got 30 seconds to name as many Derby goals since the 5-1 in 2012 up until Ellie Youans. Right, you ready?
Yeah.
And go.
David Wotherspoon, Scottish Cup. Liam Craig, penalty. James Collins, goal in the same game. Scott Allen, Daisy cutter. Jamie McLaren, goal in the same game. Martin Boyle, double at Tynecastle. Darrell Horgan, double at Tynecastle. The own goal, Christoph Berra. Does that have to be Hibs goals?
Done.
Well
That's
done,
10
mate.
goals. That's 10 goals.
Yeah, because he got the doubles. They actually got 4 right away. I never even thought about that. You get them in the same game.
By the way, Mark, I think we benefited for a very shady rule there. I think that should only count as 1, but that's not for me.
There's 2 separate goals, Craig. They didn't count as 1 in a game, so they count as 2 in the quiz as well. Well done, Mark. 22 seconds on the clock that took you. Brilliant.
Well done, Mark.
Right.
That was good.
Nice one, good
right. So the next question, and I'll tell you who will be facing each other in a second. How many Derby goal scorers can you name? So all you need is to name someone that has scored for Hibs against Hearts, and you can go as far back as you want. However, depends how far back my memory goes, but I was assuming you will keep it relatively recent. Craig, you are going to be up against Nige for this question. So, Craig, hit us off with a number. How many Derby goal scorers can you name in 30 seconds?
17.
In 30 seconds?
In 30 seconds, aye.
Very specific. I like it.
Nige, could you go 18, or are you calling Craig a liar?
I'm calling Craig a liar.
No, Nige, go for it, man. I'm the same. I just had the shite bag.
I've got PTSD from Darrell
Right,
Morgan.
so we're currently 1-0 to the Ramble. Okay, so what did you say? 17, Craig, yeah?
Aye, 7.
You said 17.
Right. So just to make it clear, if Craig hits the 17 mark, that is 2-0 to the Ramble. If he does not, it makes it 1-1. Okay. Right, Craig, are you ready?
Yeah.
Right, your 30 seconds to name 17 Hibs Derby goal scorers starts now.
Kenny Miller, Dirk Lehman, Frank Sozzi, Mixu Paatelainen, Russell Latipe, Flo Canberry, Jamie McLaren, Scott Allen, Paul Hanlon, Christian Deutsch, own goal, Kevin Nisbet, Martin Boyle, Darrell Horgan, Melker Hallberg, Ricardo Vaz Tate, David Wotherspoon.
Brilliant. 22 seconds on the clock again, by the way.
I absolutely hammered that.
My arse was going there, like, I'm not going to lie.
Does
and I'll obviously own goal.
I can't believe you went for own goal there. And like, that's such a cop-out.
Do you know what
especially the way you were talking before, you were all about the rules and doing things properly, and then you chuck in an own goal.
If we hadn't already mentioned Christoph Berra's own goal, I probably would have asked Craig for the goal scorer of said own goal, but we take it. Or I certainly do as part of the Ramble, that's for sure.
I started with the Millennium Derby, and then I tried to start thinking forward. And then as soon as I finished Swansea, I was like, no, nothing.
Right, Gav, you're up now. One a little bit easier, I would like to think, although Marc and Craig have done a very, very good job so far. How many of the current Hibs squad can you name? And you're up against Marc for this one. But for the purposes of the fact that Marc and Craig have already been, Gav, how many do you think you could name from the current Hibs squad? And I just want to make this clear. The player must have played either... So, for example, you couldn't say one of the youth players that have been training with the first team. If it's a youth player, they must have played minutes this season or are registered as a first team player.
All right. I'm going to go for 16.
16.
Yeah.
Marc?
Liar.
Right. Gav, you ready?
Yeah.
16 first team Hibs players for this season. You have 30 seconds. Go.
Marsh, Borisic, Boycott, Hanlon Stevenson, Newell, Jago, Levitt, Yuan, Boyle, Venti, Campbell, Whitaker. Oh,
13.
Del Ferrier.
Yeah. Done. 30 seconds. 14. You weren't far off. It was a good effort.
That
Yeah,
was
you
a good
started,
effort. There's-
you
I
started
would-
with my theory. I would have went squad numbers as well. That's the way you started, and then it just
I kind of thought you were going to do that, Gav, to be fair. I thought you would have went through, try to go through starting 11 and go for there. Good effort, though. Fair play. Unfortunately for you three, that means it's an automatic Hibs Ramble win. However, we do still have 2 other rounds, so you do have time to try and salvage some level of credibility. Next question. And you're going to hate me for the last one, don't you worry. So if you're up for the last one, you're going to hate that. So the last, the second last question is, how many Hibs managers can you name? And we'll go Craig versus Nige on this. In fact, no, we'll go Craig versus Tony. So then it's no Marc Tony again on the last one. So Craig versus Nige. Nige, how many Hibs managers do you think you could name in 30 seconds?
10.
Craig?
It's against me. I'll go for 11 then.
Oh, sorry, Tony. It's against Craig. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. No.
Sorry. I'm going to keep you till the end, so it's not Marc versus Tony again.
I mean, you've already told me it's going to be a disgusting question, right, class?
And also, yeah, it's a disgusting
right.
question. It's
managers. I'll go. What did you say, Nige? 10.
10, aye.
I'm assuming it's permanent managers as well, Shaun. None of this fucking.
No,
Billy
they must have been a permanent Hibs manager. Right. Yeah, sorry.
Aye, go then.
Surely.
I'll liar.
Just make him go for it. Yeah, you have done your work. Yeah.
Craig,
Right.
I could have been 11.
I could have, but I want to see him squirm.
Right, Nigel, are you ready?
On you go, have it.
Nigel, are you ready? Yeah. So 10 permanent Hibs managers, all-time history. You have 30 seconds. 3, 2, 1, go.
Alec Miller, Alex McLeish, Frank Sawsey, Paul Heckenbottom, Terry Butcher, Pat Fenlon, Lee Johnson, Nick Montgomery, Neil Lennon, and I think another one.
You won the Scottish Cup.
Alan Stubbs, sorry.
Yeah.
It's cause of the time, man. Just pretty sure.
It is. It's horrible.
Nige, you got that in 29.28 seconds with the assistance of Tony, but game's already done and dusted, so I'll allow it. Love a wee bit.
You got it, you know.
Love a wee bit of scumbaggery.
You didn't go for John Collins either. None of the cup winning managers.
Right. So we've got
all the absolute doom mongers that you came out with there.
3-1 to the Ramble boys.
Up there, no for good reasons.
Right, last question. What have we got? So last question. Sorry, it should be Marc versus Tony here. Apologies, I think I've messed that up. Anyway, We're here. Last question. How many Hibs players, sorry, I'm trying to think of how to word this. Hibs have been represented by 61 countries. In 30 seconds, how many can you name?
Who is it, Mark versus Tony?
Yes.
So they, as in, have they had to
Not
have a
the-
cap, or
No,
just how
no,
many
they're
countries?
just
have
born
played?
from that country.
Okay.
Mark?
Who? I'll say. I'll go with 10.
Tony, can you push Mark higher, or can you do 11?
I reckon Tony could go like 14 easily.
Well, I'll just go 11. And I'll.
Mark,
And I'll-
can you do 12?
Keep pushing him, Mark.
I think I could do 12, but liar.
Right.
All right, fine.
Right, Tony. So Hibs have been represented by 61 countries. You need to name 11 in 30 seconds.
I'm losing you. I'm not hearing you, mate. Say that again.
I'll
So
just
you need-
take over. I'll take over, Tony. So 10, what was you said, 11 countries in 30 seconds. And I'm just going to assume that we'll be able to know because I'm guessing Shaun's got the majority of them written down.
I think I'm
So-
assuming he's frozen, eh? Yeah.
He's frozen, aye. So 11 countries, 30 seconds, your time starts now.
Wales, Scotland, Ireland, Switzerland, Austria, Netherlands, Morocco, Gambia, Northern Ireland, and French. Have I got another one I do? Australia.
There we go.
Good shout.
Easy. I think you could have done another 10 there easily.
Aye.
I don't know, the only one that I had in my head was the Congo for Rocky recently.
Aye.
I just wanted to hear Democratic Republic of Congo.
Congo, aye, yeah.
Yes, Tony, well done. 11 answers. Smashed it. I'm certainly not going to sit here and go through the other answers, that's for sure. Let me tell you about that. The Ramble came out on top, so well done, Craig. Well done, Mark. He's represented us very well. 3-2 victory in the end. Well done. So we're going to move
What
on
a
to,
scoreline, eh? Probably one of the most famous in our history, so we'll take
Absolutely.
that.
like it was written in the stars.
I've gifted it to you.
Right, so a couple of little segments, one for Craig, one for Mark, then we're going to bring everyone back together and we're going to preview the weekend's game there, or the derby. Say weekend, it's obviously not the weekend, but it'll feel like that considering it's over the festive period, won't it? Yeah. Craig, we're going to do a derby goals, this or that, so straightforward, no explanation, no reasoning why. You can hit us with it, and if we disagree we can abuse you if we want. So you've got five head-to-heads here. We've got Gary O'Connor's goal in the game where Grant Bredner was sent off, so the 10 men, we only needed 10 men. And one of Gav's favourite memories, the Simon Murray.
Gary O'Connor.
We've got the Millennium Sawsey goal versus Horgan's second.
Oh, Sawsey.
We've got Russell Latapi's versus Scott Allen's.
Latapi's.
Yeah.
We've got Dela Cruz's miss-hit / wonder goal versus Derek Riordan's wonder goal where he cuts in for the left and hits it in the top bins.
DR10 every day of the week.
Aye.
And lastly, Boyle's equaliser in the 1-1 or Ellie Yuan's equaliser in the 2-2. And if you want to take limbs into consideration for that, you can take limbs into consideration.
You should have went Hanlon because that would have been the easy.
So hard, aye.
Easy one. I think the Yuan one was I'll caveat it, right? The Yuan one, I didn't actually realise it had gone in, only because everybody else. I only realised because everybody else started going mental. Because obviously, when you're in like row 20 in the fucking death trap, you can't see anything beyond almost the crossbar. So I'll go for the feeling of everything and the way it all transpired, and the fact I've probably not seen limbs like that at Easter Road for a very, very long time, if ever. I'd go Boyle's last minute equaliser.
The limbs at Tynecastle are the best limbs I've ever experienced in my life when LU equalised.
Brilliant.
Well, that could have been a this or that. What was it? Your limbs at Tiny. I know it's at Easter Road, but limbs at Tiny would be
Limbs
a
at
good.
Tiny are always on top, always on top.
Aye.
Away limbs are just naturally better.
They're something else. Else. Those listening, let us know on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube comments or whatever what you would have picked at this or that. I also want to know in the comments and in the replies what everyone else's blind ranking is going to be, because that is what Mark has to face now. So could come out with egg on your face here. We're doing a blind ranking of Hibs Derby goal scorers, Mark, right? So it's not the goals themselves, it is the player that you're ranking, okay?
Okay.
So the first name is Mixu Patalainen. Where are you ranking him out of 1 to 5?
2.
Lee Griffiths.
Oh, fuck. 3. Wait,
James.
is this in terms of favourite player or best player?
Yeah, well, it's
Favourite.
it's your
I'll go- I'll
interpretation
put-
of it. We're just not ranking their goals.
I'll put Griffiths at 3.
James Collins.
5.
Ricardo Vazte.
4.
I'm so happy, Mark, that I picked you to do this, because I was wanting this ranking to go this way. So that then means that your number 1 goal scorer to have played and scored in a derby is Tam McManus. Well done.
Can I
So
just be
Tam
the
McMa-
first?
Tam-
Can I just be the first one to say fucking boo to that?
I mean, putting minutes on a column doesn't give you the confidence of being a journalist in nothing, Will.
Oh, brilliant, Mark. That's made my night, that. So we've got Tam McManus, Mixu Patalainen, Lee Griffiths, Ricardo Vazte, and James Collins. Tremendous top 5.
I'll take that.
Well
I
done.
love Tam McManus. Favourite player of all time.
Along with your favourite Hibs manager of all time, and Shaun Maloney, yeah?
Absolutely.
Right, brilliant. Games have came to an end, boys. We're going to talk about something a little bit more serious in regards to the grand scheme of things of what we'll spoke about on tonight's episode, and that is previewing the game itself. We've touched on it, we've flirted at it, now we're going to kind of get into a little bit more detail as we bring the episode to a close. So, Gav, you spoke about it earlier on, so did Nige as well, and we'll come to the lads in a second. How do you see us shaping up? How would you like to see us shape up, and how do you see us shaping up coming into that game?
I would like us to change formation, not play the 4-4-2. Just match
Is that
it up.
is that to accommodate Hearts more, or is that maybe to accommodate our strengths more?
A wee bit of both. I think obviously over the last few weeks we've been quite weak in the midfield. Like, it only really takes a team to play 3 in midfield to then get a wee bit of an upper hand, I feel. So I think if we move to that, I don't think we will, but I think we should. And we should try and just play on the front foot. I think the way Hibs play the best is on the counter attack. So usually just soak up a bit of pressure, not too much, because then it gets all nervous. Like, everyone's like kind of head in their hands, like, oh, just waiting for the goal to happen. Like, so.
Nige, do you think we'll see any surprises in the starting 11? Well, maybe just with the number of games that we've got in recent weeks and the amount of away games we've had as well, could we maybe see Rocky dropping out? I mean, Lewis Miller's been having a bug. Nick Montgomery's mentioned about having a bug in the camp as well. Do you think that could play a part? Or similar to what Craig said earlier on, like everything goes out the window because everyone's raring to go? How do you see the team
100%.
selection going?
To be honest, I don't see there being, many changes. I think that Montgomery, he seems to want to kind of stick with, similar starting 11 and similar sort of game tactics, and I'm not sure I really agree with it. I think at the moment, because I think if we look back at the games that we have won, which you could argue under Lee Johnson, we probably wouldn't have got anything from them, but we haven't really been playing well. They've been ugly wins. He'll obviously see that as progress. I just think with the derby, it's a completely different kettle of fish. I think for us, we we've just got to go for it from the first minute to the last minute. I think, at Easter Road, Christmas time, 8 o'clock kickoff under the floodlights, the crowd are going to be well up for it. We've just got to start well. My biggest concern is if Hearts score early, I think all the game plan goes out the window. It's going to be a case of winning that midfield for me. And I think that if he is going to change it, you want to bring in Jago. You need players in there that can battle, because Flair's not going to cut it in the derby. And, I think we are dangerous on the counter-attack, but we've not seen a lot of that in the last sort of few games. I don't know if that's the systems kind of stopping us kind of getting the best out of Boyle and Newhan, because they're not the same sort of threat going forward, and doesn't suit them coming back, coming short to receive the pass and then taking on players. They want to be running onto balls, they want to be running at players. So it's a difficult one, because does he go all out and attack and then he plays a 4-2-4 and then we get absolutely rolled in midfield, or does he go a bit more conservative and try and play them at their own game and try and win the individual battles? And then
to be fair, Nige, you make some tremendous points. I'm going to throw some of them to Tony and get his opinion on it. Nige just spoke about if we potentially lose a goal early, how will that game plan change? Or on the flip side, if we maybe take an early lead, how do you think that game plan will change? Because you could see that if we look at previous games with Monty, he doesn't really try and change his style. Things in game really can change at times, but the personnel has stayed the same. How or what does Monty need to do in game? Because we know how he's going to set up. What does he need to do in game to get the best out of the players that we've got for this type of game?
Well, I'll tell you the way he uses a wide player and has them coming inside. That's kind of how he tries to negate getting the players on the park that he wants, and to negate the fact that he only plays with two. So obviously we've seen recently Tavares has played on the inside. He done that to really quite good effect in a defensive sense against Celtic at Easter Road when they drew 0-0, and we saw Eli Yuan sort of doing that against St Johnstone, and that went terribly. So I think that'll be like the idea of how he'll try to negate the middle three, and he might do the same. That might mean, for a game like that might mean Josh Campbell, just because it's a bit more of an attacking, he's a bit more of a pressing threat. The only issue is obviously in a game like that, his passing's not great, and he does give the ball away in a normal game. So when it's that hectic, you will lose something, but you might think of that in terms of being able to maybe hold off and have firepower on the bench for when the game gets a bit more stretched. You might feel that rather than playing Boyle and Yuan in this game, get a foothold, and he might be able to use Yuan later. I'd like to see Yuan up front in a game. I'd really like to see it. I think he's best up there. I think it negates all his problems because you don't mind a player sort of expressing themselves in those positions. He's really good at he can play with his back to goal. He can go over the top. He can buy a yard. He can shoot. I think he's got basically all the tools necessary to be a really rounded striker in this league. But you mentioned it earlier. Montgomery. It's not just that he's stuck in his ways. In this period, I don't think there's going to be much flexibility. He's trying to create a characteristic of a side. He's trying to create a style. So even though sometimes we might not disagree, and I disagree with it at times, he's not going to do it because he's felt the only way he can implement it properly is if he keeps on the repetition and doing it. And he's trying to do it with players that maybe aren't necessarily capable, but I don't think he's going to change. So I think some of the players will have to take some of the initiative and the part and use their own smarts during it. For like the St Johnstone game, for example, that 5-minute period when we were just giving the ball away constantly that led to the goal and led to them having numerous chances. Periods like that in the derby, just take your own initiative and just get out for that period.
A little bit more creative freedom for the players as well.
Yeah,
just a little bit of license to express yourself and do a little bit more.
Aye, but I mean, he's not going to change the style, and anyone who thinks he is off their head. And whether we like that or not, I'm not massively against it, because there's no teams in this league that really have a style. There's so many teams that feel like they're just still coming into pre-season. You've no idea how they play or what their identity is at a team. So I understand it's quite nice to see at least that we're trying to put an idea together. The main worry is that we're creating less chances the more Montgomery's been involved, and that's a really worrying part of it.
Yeah. Nah, you're spot on with what you've said, and I think we've spoke about it on plenty of times on the episodes about the fact that it's good that he's got this level of identity and what he's trying to play. And just at the moment, with what he has at his, facility, it's just not the level of player to play how he's wanting to play. And you're better having that philosophy and getting them up to that standard and bringing in players of that standard rather than accommodating what's there and then changing mid-season. So you make some great points, Tony. That's
Exactly.
for sure. For sure.
It'd be much better if we had them in pre-season. This is the
Correct.
the biggest problem with the board was running with a manager that they knew they were going to sack the second it started to go well. They basically bought into Lee Johnson because they had a good end to last season. They should have just been brave and done it then. Because obviously they wanted to do it. Obviously, you don't do it 3 games a season unless you wanted to do that. They should have been brave.
But you've got to remember, us Hibs fans, we were expecting to be Aston Villa and stuff like that under Lee Johnson, of course. Do you know what I mean?
Some video, Some video.
Craig, just before we wrap up, and your favourite part in regards to actually getting predictions, which I know you absolutely love, looking at that game up against Hearts, we spoke earlier on about the key threats that potentially Hearts had in the last game. Other than the midfield battle, which we'll spoke at a great length on tonight's episode, where else do you think could we potentially get a winning margin against Hearts and just have that extra edge? And who do you think that will be?
I reckon we'll have a better chance on Wednesday if Martin Boyle's out wide.
Which feeds into what Tony was saying about having Ewan up front and Boyle out wide.
I don't like this persistence with Boyle through the middle. Whilst he can be effective, I think he's in a game like this as well. He's more effective out wide. I'd actually quite like to see us go bold and go with Doidge and Venti up front. Just go with because we've kind of been playing this 4-4-2/4-2-2, almost like a, it's high and wide when we're attacking, but it's sort of compact and box like when we're defending. I reckon we'll have more of a chance with whether it be definitely Boyle on the right, and then you have either Jair or Ewan out on the left. I think it'd be quite harsh to drop Jair at this present moment because he's probably been one of the brightest sparks in the last few weeks, especially since he's been given his sort of sustained run in the team. But it would be, I think we spoke about it, Shaun, it might have been before the Celtic game, about someone like Doidge being useful in games like this, because what he'll do is he'll pin centre-backs back. Whether it be a combination, he was useful
in the last derby, wasn't he?
Whether it be a combination of Venti, Ewan and Boyle, whatever sort of way they want to work that, even Campbell, because we've seen him up there, I don't see any of those being able to pin a Hearts centre-back back. And by pin them back, I mean stop them from, use their body to stop them attacking the ball from behind. Any other forward, any centre-half, I mean, who would they put? Rolls, Kent, and I think Halkett's fit again, so...
Yeah, because Kingsley's injured. He went off injured, which is good because he's found much more form. Like last season, obviously, he was atrocious, but he's found much more form recently.
Yeah, so there's an area where 3 centre-halves who, depending on Halkett as well, because he's barely played for the last, 2 years or so, he's hardly kicked the ball. Having someone like Doidge who's a bit physical, who'll get... We've seen it last season, Shaun, with Nisbet and Rolls. We spoke about it. Nisbet's not the most physical of players, but he absolutely ran Rolls ragged at Easter Road. He gave him a fucking torrid time. So for me, the game, although it'll be hectic in the middle of the park, for me, it'll be won or lost come 6:45, 7 o'clock when we see the team line and see who's actually playing. I would feel much more confident if it was both Doidge and Venti up top being supplied by a combination of Boyle, Ewan and Jair. But I think this is a game for Boyle to get his finger out a bit as well, because he's not exactly been setting the heather alight. This could be the game that proper takes us into the new year as well.
Yeah, because he's got, we lose his ball carrying skills as well when you put him up front. And sometimes I say when we try to play this quite intricate way forward, you kind of need other ways of getting up the park because it's not always going to work. And he's your main guy who can take it for a dribble. And like you're saying with Doidge, you can move him on. Kai Rowles is a decent player, but he's not good in the air. He really struggles in the air for a centre half. So you could have Doidge sort of moving on to him. And obviously Venti, even though I don't love it because we don't see him in front of the goal enough, he's very adept at being a defensive striker. I mean, you could see him. They could put him on Benny Beningame the same way that he done to Callum McGregor at Easter Road, and that worked really well. And with Hearts, Biringami's their main sort of like, he's the one who can take the ball to feet. He's the one who will keep the possession rotating for them. He's the sort of intelligent player in that mid the park. So if he can stop, that is the way of them getting out. Once they've lost Kingsley as well, which is another avenue that they have to get up the park, you can start to nullify the ways that they actually move in. And again, like I'm saying, then you can press tight. You could get in a position where this Hearts team, I think, where you could suffocate them. You could really dominate the game if you want to. And they struggle to get in behind teams. They play in front of teams all the time. They don't have much pace. And the pace that they do have, the manager doesn't really seem to trust. So since they've lost Ginnelly, it's been a huge loss to them. Not just about his talent, just about the way that the makeup of their team and how they can play. So there's definitely avenues for Hibs to really hurt Hearts and to properly be able to dominate this game if they're brave and, like you're saying, he gets his team selection right.
I think as well for Boyle, for me, that's the key thing about pace as well. I think in a one-on-one burner race, you'd assume Cochrane at left back or left wing back. I'm not sure if they'd go with the 4 or the 3 with Kingsley being injured, but Boyle running at Cochrane would give him a nightmare. And what Boyle does as well is Boyle runs from deep. So Boyle doesn't have an issue picking the ball up on the touchline 45 yards out and driving it goal. Whilst Ewan more especially, he likes to threaten to do it. He likes to threaten to... I mean, we've seen it when we played them at Easter Road last season. He turned the burners on in the last minute and got the equaliser. He'd done it against Rangers the week or so later, or earlier, I can't remember with the way it spun about. But Boyle's the one who'll just get the ball and run at defenders. And it's that old cliche, but any defender anybody who's been involved at any level of football will tell you the one thing that defenders hate more than most is pace.
And then that's another thing.
You can get Boyle isolating, whether it's him on the right or even if he wants to take a shot on the left, whether it be Atkinson or Cochrane, completely isolating Boyle up against them and letting them drive at them. He might drive at them 10 times. It'll not come off 9 times, but it will come off once out of the 10 times.
Yeah. And then again, you've got Cochrane not able to get up the park, which is another one of their main avenues that they get apart because he'll have to worry about Boyle. And we are the home team. We want to be able to take the initiative here. Yeah. And I hope that the fact that we've not been at home for ages actually helps. The team's going to feel really good and comfortable when they've not been at home for so long. It's coming to a game. It's going to be a brilliant atmosphere. Everyone's going to be on the piss for about midday. I mean, it's going to be a joke. It's going to be poison.
Still be pissed for Christmas Day, Tony. Never
exactly.
Right
through.
Don't like being a Celtic, and you're talking like us being four away games on the trot. We're no at home. Like the crowd should be up for it completely. Up for it.
Yeah. It's not one of those. It's like
the thing we've got to go for it.
It'll almost feel like a cup game. Can the midweek cup games that we had? That's kind of the feel. I mean, I love these games this time of year, because like you say, everybody's on the lash for fucking 3 o'clock the day before. Like most folk are off work the following day.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's in that happy spell of the year, so it's definitely one that we should.
Looking forward to it. That's for sure.
And I think just before you finish on, I think this could really set a marker on where we actually end up at the end of the season. Because if we can pick up the 3 points going into the January window and get, I think we could probably talk for fucking hours about where we need to strengthen and who needs to be moved on.
All right, we've got £6 million to do it soon, so we've got plenty of money.
But as Tony said as well, it's key for either manager, because you've seen it already. Naismith got the manager of the month and then they got beat off Aberdeen and everybody was like, get him out. But then he gets a win against Celtic, so everything's all great again. But then on the other side of the coin with us, you have got those folk who are saying about Montgomery, as the shooting, the shots on target attacking wise has decreased sort of week on week. You are already, as is the nature of football, you are getting dissenters already saying one trick pony, what is he really going to do much more for us? So it's not just about what happens on the Wednesday and the 3 points. Obviously, it's much more than that for us. But I think in terms of where both teams go, whoever comes out with 3 points is going to set a real marker down for where they end up come May.
Because he needs time, Montgomery, for what he wants to do, the style he wants to play. He's going to need time. So you need to buy yourself time. Yeah. And the easiest way to buy yourself time is he could win this derby, and it would buy him. He could have 4 defeats going later, because people get a good night out of it, and then everyone remembers that, and it's enjoyment. It's a connection that you build there, and he needs these types of results to get him the time he needs to implement the actual plan he has. So it's a massive game for Montgomery.
You can
Yeah, I
argue
think
that's
it'll be a
what got Johnson in the summer as well. Like the
Yeah.
Nisbet game, that paid Johnson throughout the summer months.
Totally.
Nige, were you going to jump in there? Sorry.
I mean, I agree with what the lads are saying. I think the Ross County game's massive because you think about it. If we don't get a result, then Hearts get a result against St Mirren, and we're going into the derby. There's going to be a lot of pressure there with Montgomery. So it totally changes the dynamics going into the game. I know that form goes out the window when it comes to derby, but when you're looking at the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really bode well. And, I think that's a huge game going into the derby for me, and I think I definitely think that you'll hear people kind of saying that he's not the man for the job, and it'll all start coming out again. The knives will be out, and you can just see how it's going to go. And I think we need to go into that game, and we need to get something from it. For me,
You're correct in what you're saying, Nige. 100%, and we're saying that already, and it touches on the points that Craig's already made, and Tony and Gav as well, regarding giving them time and having that personality as well, and being able to implement it, and having the right level of player there as well. What we'll do, we'll end on a little bit of prediction, so you can make it as glamorous as you want, or you can make it as simple as a 2-1 Hibs. You can predict the goal scorers, whatever you want. Gav, you can kick us off. What do you think come close of play, full time at the derby? What's the score going to be? What is your prediction?
I think it'll be a scrappy game, but I think we'll nick it late on. We know the 90th minute winner for a while. Certainly not in a derby for God knows how long.
Are you saying a 1-0 or
a 1-0?
Scorer?
You know what, Jair? You know what? All the Hearts fans kind of saying how he's not that good and all that. I've got of my pals that are going like, he's not that good. He's got to come back and bite him on the backside, and it's got a nice wee screamer. So,
Nige, what's your prediction?
Do you know what? I think we'll win 2-0. I've just got a feeling that we'll score a couple of goals. I think that they'll come into the game as well. I think Hearts will be confident. Obviously got a good result at Parkhead, and I think they'll come to Easter Road and we'll just be so up for it. I think the fans will be right up for it, and I've just got a feeling that we'll score a couple. I think I've been quite negative in my analysis of how we've been playing, but I've got a feeling going into the derby. You know yourself, like anything can happen, but when Hibs turn it on, let's not forget, like we've got the ability to get a decent result, and Hearts have had a couple of good results, but by all accounts they've been pretty shit themselves. So I think we'll
Derby fever taking over already now.
Derby
fever's taking over. Tony, what's your prediction?
I see, before I'd done this, I was kind of worried it would be a really shit game. I'll be honest, I thought that obviously Hearts really struggled to get in behind teams as well, and they end up playing the game in front of you, and that can be quite easy. But Hibs are just as guilty of that exact type of thing. And I think Hibs would prefer to play on the counter-attack, but the fact that we're at home means that might not be what's able to happen. But I don't know, now I'm getting there thinking that under the lights, man, Easter Road, nighttime games, I always feel we do quite well in. And I've got no evidence of that. I don't have Wysket open in front of me. This is just a perception, and that we do quite well in nighttime derbies and nighttime games in general. And now that I've been having this conversation, why not? We've not been to Easter Road for weeks, so I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to the Hibs as well, man. Fuck it.
Do well under the lights at derbies at Easter Road, so I'll not mention the one pre-lockdown then. But I love the optimism, Tony. I love it. I do. It takes over me as well. I rate it. Right, Craig, your favourite part. I know you hate a prediction anyway, so hit me with one and we'll bring it to a close, pal.
I'll give you it Wednesday when you ask me for it for the.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, exactly. Aye.
You know me, Shaun, but I'll go 3-0 Hibs. 3-0.
I thought I would have maybe been able to squeeze one out of you, but nah, no way.
Okay,
I'll go for a classic 2-1 Hibs. 2-1 Hibs.
We're due to give them the reddest of red arses, so, and it's going to. I can't go, so I'm hoping that I can be.
That's a given W then.
Yeah.
That's
since we've spoken about them a lot, the Simon Murray game and then the Scott Allen game, I wasn't at either of those. So
there we go. Right,
Yeah,
yeah,
Guaranteed
stars
Hibs victory.
It's one of those. It's an omen. 2012 again. It's an omen.
We need to,
Right,
we need to get
brilliant.
at some point.
Brilliant. Right, just want to go on record saying again, I said it before the recording, I'll say it again. Thanks so much to the threes for coming on, and Craig as well for joining me, and Mark, who's obviously dipped off. Really, really appreciate you joining on. It's been a great laugh tonight. Hopefully, the listeners have enjoyed it. Hopefully, you have enjoyed it. Hopefully, everyone gets involved in all the games that we've played throughout the episode as well. So, if you haven't, go back, get involved. Let us know the outcome of your games, your scores, whatever you've done. It'd be good to know what everyone else was saying, especially with the this or that or the lies and stuff like that. Really, really good. Brilliant. Lads, hope you have a lovely festive period.
Yeah.
Obviously, by the time this comes
Christmas,
out,
Yes.
hopefully we'll have a beautiful, beautiful derby result to talk about after the game as well. Really appreciate you coming on. I'll let you go. Stick in. Take care. Much love. See you later.
All the best. My pleasure. Cheers,
All the
cheers,
best,
lads. Shut up.
guys.
Bye bye.
Let's get ready to rumble.